you got something out of this video, actually I did myself. I should click like on my own video, I think. What's the language? Hello there folks, I have a question about an MB650 trap I got. It's the first MB I've owned, and so I have it here. I've got the trap setting tool with it, and I have a bit of a problem with this trap, and I'd like to show it to you. I wonder whether it's defective or if this is a common issue that people have with these MB650s or not, but basically the problem comes down to the little trigger there fitting underneath the pan. When I set the trap, set the jaws, I can't get that little trigger low enough to get underneath the pan. I'm going to follow the advice that I was given and accept the fact that in the case of these MB traps, that they are not made exactly to spec, and that's really what the problem is. That it's not that unusual for the sear to be not quite able to go deep enough for the pan to go over it, and what you really have to do is you have to cut down that sear a little bit. And in my case, I think it's going to be at least half the thickness of the pan itself. So, you know, I would rather take the thing out and put it in a vise to work on it. But the way this trap is designed, it's pretty much impossible to get that mechanism out of there. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to file it down in place. Now, I had thought about using a file, and once I start getting in there, I'm thinking, well, I'm going to move the sear back as I file down. It's the best way, I think, is going to be to use a good old Dremel tool. And I've put one of these type of heads on it. I want to make a nice right angle cut straight down, grind it straight down without moving it back. And if I have good light, and if I put my glasses on, I just might be able to do this. What do you think? I think after I've cut that notch down, I'm also going to have to bring down the top of this lever here too, so that I can slide that also underneath the pan, so that when you set it, you can push the pan down and feel that little click as it goes down to the notch. Because right now, the way it is, I can't even get the lower notch part under the pan, never mind the whole top. So I'll start off with a little notch, see how much I have to bring that down, and I'm just going to kind of slowly work this around. It's too bad that you have to do this to get a trap to function, but hey, in a way, stuff like this is kind of fun. So I got to bring my light right in here. Yeah, maybe I'll let you see what I'm up to here. Let's just give this a shot. Let's see here. Brought it down a fair bit, as best as I can see. It's a fairly level cut. I don't want it to be sloping downwards, but let's just give this thing a try. Setting the trap now. See if I can set this thing a little bit better now. Discovered that you gotta do it this way around, otherwise the bolts on the bottom don't line up with the hole in the center. Okay. Let's see if we've made some improvement here. She's close. Better to do it not too much than better not to go too far and not far enough. So I think she's still got to come down pretty well half the thickness of that pan. So this thing is really out of whack. Okay, so I guess what we're going to do is we're gonna do a little more grinding, folks. Stay tuned. Okay, you can see now that I can get the pan over there. I can't get it over the back part, of course, which I'll have to bring down some more. But if I do have it over here, then I do have it on the lower catch. But if you look at it, the pan is a little high, so I should bring that notch down a little bit more, and I think I'll have to bring the top one down also. So let's just see here. I'll pop that off, get these guys going here, and we'll bring that notch down a little bit more. Okay. So, I'm getting close now. Holding down this lever with a vice grip attached to it. That's how I did the grinding too, because that metal gets pretty hot. And I've got it to about the right depth. I've taken off a lot of this sear, and just took about 3 or 4 passes to do it with that grindstone, and you can see like the grindstone is kind of rounded on the edges. So as I set the notch under the pan, I can see it kind of slides, the pan slides forward a little bit because of that being rounded here. So I'm just taking a file and just sharpening that right angle on the sear, and I've got it so that when I set the pan on the sear, that the pan is laying pretty close to being level now. So this part of the job looks like it's done, but a huge amount of metal had to be taken off this thing. I was surprised how much it took, and really if I want to have that step notch, I'm going to have to take off at least the thickness of this file off the top too. So I'll maybe do that as well, because I like to have that little set click when the pan is in position. By the way, with these MB traps, when you got them loaded, you don't want to be holding them by these springs. You can see how this closes up here really tight when the trap is sprung. If you were holding it by those handles there, generally, then if that trap did spring and you got your fingers caught in between there and the jaws, I think that'd be a world of pain. So, you know, with the MB50 and a 650, you really want to handle it from the bottom always. They're a little bit dangerous. You have to put your hands in the middle of the trap too, in order to fiddle around with stuff, so your hands are in the danger zone, right? There's kind of no way around it. Okay, so now we've got this here. I'm gonna let this up a little bit until I get a little bit of tension on there. So yeah, I've now sharpened out that corner in there, so that before the edge of it would sit a little bit forward on the notch because it was rounded, but using this file and sharpening up that straight right angle there, that made a huge amount of difference. Well, you know, it's kind of a good thing that I made this video actually, and I'll explain to you why. At the beginning of the video, I used the camera to take a look at what the shape of this little sear was, and explained that I was going to grind it down, right? And so having that as a comparison, I did my grinding. I stepped it down a little bit, and then I did another close-up shot of the finished product. And if you look at that, and I'll kind of put that on the screen now, I put before and after. You'll see what I did was a bit of an error. I moved that little step back, and that's just sort of a tendency of using a grinding stone, right? It kind of cuts a little bit of metal coming back as you're trying to grind down, and I wound up with too long of a ledge, and that's not a good thing. Comparing that to the original shape of this sear, it's very different. It's a much longer ledge, and when I tried to operate the trap, I noticed that it took a lot of pressure to get this thing to break. So what we're going to do now is we're going to fix that, because fortunately I was quite conservative on how much I brought the sear down, and the pan is tilting up still a little bit anyway, so that's good, because I got a little bit more metal left that I could take off this. And with an eye to the original width of that final step on the sear, I'm going to take it down just that little end part to make a shorter shelf for the pan to sit on. That's going to make a whole lot of difference in the sensitivity of the pan, which right now, quite frankly, with that ledge being too wide, it's very hard to set off this trap. So let's give this another shot, and I'll give you a look at how the sear looks afterwards too. So this will be interesting. It's a good learning experience. Okay, let's begin here. The way I found works well for doing this is I get my little dog here, or the little dog, the little lever, and I just clamp it with a pair of vice grips like so, because the metal does get pretty hot. This way it holds the plate in a nice steady position. Get a little Dremel tool going here. I think I got it a little better there now. very piddly. So rather than go whole hog too far, I'm going to give this another little test. We'll see what we got now. Pretty ticklish work. Very ticklish. I'll just do it like that. So let's get the thing set up here. Okay, so now she's holding on the top part of the surface. Straps, you want to handle them from the underside always, only. Okay, and I'm gonna try to push it down to that that second step I've made. If this doesn't work, then the thing is gonna snap. Oh, okay. So did it actually step down? I'm not sure. Yeah, it can step down there. It's not a real nice click. Maybe I can improve that with the hand file. But it looks like she's down to that second steer. So I went, oh no, she went click there, and it's perfectly level on that click. Okay, so now I think it's going to be a whole different story as far as how much pressure it takes to set the strap off. So yeah, that's actually not too bad. That didn't take too much pressure. Before it was really hard. You can see that. Can you see that very well? There's a little bit of a step before the step. So I've got to take that off. That's what was giving me sort of the false impression of going down to the step. Okay, let's give this another try here. I've got the top part so that there's not a false step on it anymore. I think I've got it leveled off good enough, but the testing will show what's actually been accomplished here. Okay, I'll put this on here now. So now this two-step thing is really kind of central to this type of trap anyways, because really the only way you can work with this pan is to push down on it, and it's your hand is in the danger zone, right? Still, even though I'd be confident in the step making a click before the trap going off, I'd still kind of like to use something as a buffer instead of my fingers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to show whether we get a nice clean step here or not. There. Well, it didn't go click, but it actually has a nice solid feel. It was actually quite good. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. So let's just fire this guy off. And yeah, it's not too bad for pressure. Okay, let's take a look at version 2 of this reshaped sear here. Let's show you from the side. Now, if you look at, compared to the way it was before, it's a much shorter little step, and I brought down the rest of that long top portion. And hopefully what I've done here saves you a little bit of grief too if you ever have to do this. Just keep in mind that when you're grinding down that step, it's very easy to have the step moving back from the result of your file or your grindstone. So you're going to very likely wind up bringing it back unintentionally. So maybe the way to go about this is to get the whole thing flat first down to a level where the pan sort of sits a little bit high and be able to catch it. That's what I would do if I was doing this over again. And then once I get it so that the pan is sitting kind of high and the sear is getting underneath it, then I would go and just take that last little bit off. See, the way I did it is I just went from the beginning. I worked on the front step, and I had to take a lot of metal off, like well, I don't know how much you would call that. Maybe 1/8 of an inch of metal I had to take off that thing. So as I'm going down and down, I'm bringing the ramp backwards too. But if I just brought the whole thing down level and then get it so it needs to go just a little bit more because the pan is tipped up a bit, then I could have just done a straight down cut without unintentionally bringing it back very much. So that's my advice to you. Okay, we're going to do one more iteration on this. When I tried out the last modification, the height of the ramps is good, but when I sat down to try to set this trap, the top surface of the high part of the sear is so smooth that the pan just slides right over, and it's actually hard to get the pan to engage on that top surface so that I can go and I can click it down to the final sear. So I've decided what I'm going to do is I've got to give this dog here, I've got to give it a slight backward cant so that it's going to hold the pan when I get the pan on that dog, right? Because right now it's so slippery that it just slides right down and onto the final step of the sear, which is just it seems that I can only set it to wind up setting it on the final sear. So I'm going to tilt this back a little bit, and actually I'll leave a little bit of a notch on the top too, so that it just kind of finds its place on that high level sear. And I think then I'm going to be able to set this trap a lot more confidently, rather than, because it's just sliding on a very slippery surface right now, and it's it's not working very well. So I'm going to give this a little bit of a change, and I'll show you what I've done. Okay, for better or for worse, I now have that slanted back a little bit on the higher surface so that the pan doesn't just slide forward on its own as the tension increases on it. I've actually made the front step a little bit wider because it seemed to me that the pan would run off the end of it. I'm not so sure now that that was a good idea to lengthen that. I think I could have left it where it was, but when I was stepping down the notch from the high sear to the low sear, the trap was going off. So by widening the low part on this end a little bit, that made the trap more stable. But I find that I do have to still, the pan doesn't just automatically step down to the finest position. I do have to kind of gently tap the pan until the edge of the pan comes close to the edge of this sear. But that's okay, I can live with that. The main thing is I've got my top sear, the high level sear, so that it's slanted a little bit back now, so that when I put pressure on it with the pan, the pan, it's not just going to slide forward onto the final notch. So I do have that click. So I hope that's kind of helped to clarify things. I'm going to emphasize it's a very ticklish bit of business here. Very ticklish. It takes so little. So if you're going to do this kind of modification, you really take your time, because you can't go backwards. Okay, there I'm on the edge of my last sear. Pan is very level. And take my 3 pounds of lead that I use for bullet casting, and if I lay them gently, it won't set this off. Oh, actually, yeah, just around 3 pounds for the pan tension. So could be maybe a little bit more, but that's one way to test it. Well, you know, the interesting thing about doing this video, modifying this trap, has been how many times I've had to record this ending. This is probably my fourth iteration at that. Each time thinking that I was done, but then going back and testing the trap and saying, you know, it could be a little bit better. So I've gone back to this, reshaping this sear many times. So I hope you get something out of this video. It's something that you got to really be careful with, and if it helped you, I hope you subscribe to this channel. Leave some comments down too if you have your own suggestions, because I'm not the expert on this, but I'm just some regular guy just giving it a shot. From the Wayne and Native Chronicles, I want to say God bless, and we'll catch you next time. See ya.
이 때 또 내가 기 캐보스 때 이게 나 교수 봐.